Much of the Patriots' success during the Revolutionary War came from unconventional tactics implemented by American military forces. The British military was the most powerful fighting force in the world in 1776, and most people were skeptical about a Patriot victory. Yet, by altering their fighting styles, several officers were able to achieve stunning success. Who were these men, and what strategies did they implement? Although the term guerrilla warfare was not used in the English language until the early 19th century, the phrase means irregular warfare, in which a small group of combatants use ambushes, sabotage, disguise, raids, the element of surprise, and extraordinary mobility to dominate a larger, less mobile army. The term means little war in Spanish, and it defines what a select number of American officers did throughout the American Revolution. George Rogers Clark, a man who had been a surveyor along the Ohio and Kentucky rivers, used his knowledge of the area and the terrain to harass and often dominate British forces in the war on the frontier. His soldiers, many of whom were Tennesseans known as over-the-mountain men, were extremely mobile, rugged individuals who became famous for their long, overland treks through the wilderness and fierce, surprising attacks. In 1779, Clark's men launched a surprise attack on Fort Sackville near the town of Vincennes in present-day Indiana. Clark, with only 127 men, endured an 18-day march through the chest-deep icy waters of a flooded Wabash River to attack the fort. Displaying an excessive number of banners, or battle flags, and keeping up an intense fire, Clark managed to convince the British officers that he had far more men than he actually did. The British surrendered, only to be shocked by how few fighters Clark truly had when they turned over their weapons. Another American who excelled at unconventional forms of fighting was the Virginian Daniel Morgan. Morgan led an elite group of sharpshooters with rifles built with smaller rifled barrels. The grooved barrels were a huge advancement over military muskets because their bullets spiraled in a straight line, giving them deadly accuracy. While an advantage when it came to firing, the rifles would be a liability in a conventional fight when British soldiers charged at them with bayonets. Morgan's men didn't use bayonets, nor did they attempt to meet the British in the open in a conventional style of warfare. Morgan, a former Indian fighter, molded his tactics on the fighting styles of Native American Indians. His men used hit-and-run tactics, concealing themselves in trees, shrubbery, and anywhere else the redcoats would not expect a gentleman to be. Accurate at 250 yards, Morgan's men also went after officers, which appalled the British and greatly decimated their armies. In multiple engagements, such as the Battle of Saratoga, Morgan's men shot down so many officers that the British threw down their weapons and fled. For all of the successes of Morgan and Clark, no patriot excelled at guerrilla warfare more than Francis Marion. Marion's brigade used surprise attacks to harass British supply lines and communication in South Carolina. Using the swamps and forest trails to shield his movements, Marion rarely engaged the enemy in open warfare. The quickness and the ease with which he could strike and then disappear earned him the nickname Swamp Fox.